What an absolute revelation this series has been. Business and leadership stories with the Story Co. And the Story Co. represented by Sachin Bhandary, a business story coach and trainer. Uh, Human stories are really a hack into the human brain. We need to use more of them. Companies need to revamp their old style, need to achieve their business goals with speed and ease with the power of stories. And that's what Sachin does via his coaching, consulting, and training. Later on at the end of the show, we will also tell you how you can join his online courses wherever you are across the country or the world so that you can enhance your storytelling skills. Very interesting last week what we can learn from South Indian cinema. And just an example of the kind of diverse topics we cover is we have nothing to do with an example from the Indian subcontinent here, but a global example that's coming up. How are you doing, Sachin? All well?
Very good, Rishi. Look forward to today's chat.
This week, how did a competitor turn Spotify into a success? They always talk about how your arch rivals should spur you on, and the Swedish streaming service was actually, when it started off, on the back foot. It was defensive because, this was a time when the Pirate Bay, TPB, was so active, and
Right.
people were swearing by peer-to-peer file sharing.
Yes, of course.
Talk me
Yeah.
through the story.
Yes, it's a super interesting story, Rishi. So, if you remember, I think in the until about the early 2000s and all that, Pirate Bay pretty much ruled the roost. Everybody was okay downloading stuff from the Pirate Bay, and the founder of that company, I think his name is Sunday, or I guess that's how it's pronounced, was a political activist, and he believed that the sharing digital culture should be a fundamental right, and nobody needs to have to pay anything for that. But if you asked him the question about how artists who are creating music or any other creations for that matter, how will they get paid? He did not have any answer to that. But people love downloading stuff for free, right? So people were still thronging the website, and they were a bit of a rage back then. And that's when Daniel Ek started Spotify, which today is worth about 14.5 billion US dollars, has hundreds and thousands of subscribers. But back then, it was a very small startup which practically nobody knew outside of Sweden. Now, Daniel Ek took a very interesting approach, and that approach is that he realized that music streaming was the future, but he also realized that you need to find a legal way to do it, and you should not actually do it the illegal way, the way TPB or the Pirate Bay was doing it. So eventually, he started approaching music companies and everybody else and tried to convince them that you should start working with us so that we are able to stream. So while the Pirate Bay was fighting fights on all fronts, and every time that there was a raid, they would move around and they were struggling to survive. Daniel Ek and his team focused on building a superior product, doing things in the right way by partnering with music companies. And imagine this: if there was no evil, the Pirate Bay in this story, the music companies wouldn't have given a second look towards Spotify, which was an upstart, and nobody really would have cared about it. But only because of the Pirate Bay, music companies actually listened to him and started working with him. And today he's been able to create, a fantastic company which is publicly listed, and yeah, all of those great things.
Fascinating real life story there. So, what's the marketing communication tip that we can learn from that?
Rishi, yes. So when I read this story, I think a lot of times what happens is that when we are running a company, when we are running a startup, or even in our own lives, there's always this temptation to think that you are one against the world, that you are the hero of your own story, etc., etc. And while that's good in some ways, it also may need some nuanced thinking to see how you can help somebody else or become a friend or a mentor. So in that sense, Spotify was a mentor to the music industry and helped them survive this new threat of peer-to-peer file sharing. So sometimes that nuanced thinking of figuring out, rather than like for instance, we see this play out now in a lot of ways, like crypto, which was supposed to be the villain in everyone's story. Now, crypto companies are open to working with financial institutions. In fact, they're okay being regulated as well. If you look at electric vehicle companies, startups, which earlier said that, hey, we are going to bring a completely new world. Now there are a lot of them who have investments from older vehicle manufacturers, and that's how they are growing. So sometimes it does make sense to join hands with somebody you're trying to
vanquish.
yes, that you gave me the
Your
word. Thanks for that.
adversary who you're trying to vanquish.
Yeah, so sometimes it makes sense to create a friendship with them and then grow together and help both yourself and them survive in this new age.
Win with Stories is a remarkable newsletter that Sachin Bhandary from the Story Co puts out every single week on LinkedIn. I highly advocate you get onto LinkedIn and read it. Other than that, you must hire them for revamping your company, revamping your business storytelling skills, so that if your management or if your people down the supply chain, you can benefit from his extraordinary knowledge and expertise. Where can people reach out to you, buddy?
Thanks, Hrishi. Yes, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Look for Sachin Bhandary. Sachin is easy. Bhandary is Bhandary, and look for the link on my profile which says "Get in touch" or "Stay in touch." You can subscribe to my newsletter. If you're an enterprise, you can ask me about how I can help your people and your company win with stories. But if you're an individual learner who wants to improve your storytelling skills, I run 3 open online courses, live online courses: Story Punch for marketing and content, Founders Pitch for founders and entrepreneurs, and anyone who wants to discover and showcase their expertise on LinkedIn. There's Ace LinkedIn with Stories. So yeah, that's how people can get in touch.
We will be back next week for another edition of Business and Leadership Stories, this time with episode number 19. You don't want to go anywhere. Thanks for your time and your detailing. Bye, my friend.
Thanks a lot, Hrishi. Look forward.
94.3 Radio 1.